Hey man, so my name is Kyle Dykstra. I have my degree in wildlife management from South Dakota State University and have spent most of my life growing up around hunting in all forms. Um, Rifle hunting, bow hunting, hound hunting, you name it. And so, you know, coming across your content and the whole issue with Butch is frustrating for sure. And I just wanted to touch on that a little bit because I don't know to what extent you're getting like a nuanced conversation with hunters. Like I know hunters can be pretty ruthless and not really forgiving to others' point of view. Well, that's not me. And so I saw the whole response to Meat Eater thing and what they missed in that podcast. I think was accurate, and I think maybe both sides are missing some things. There's context to everything that varies by state. And in your video talking about the Meat Eater podcast, you had mentioned that like hunting was not a right, but private property ownership is. Well, that kind of depends on the state you're in and how you view it. You know, we live in a country where, it is a privilege and a right to be able to own property. And it is a privilege to be able to hunt. And we are granted that through wildlife management practices that we as hunters have instated, throughout the states to ensure the future of wildlife in this country. Like wildlife in this country right now is at a boom compared to what it was in the early 1900s. Like we almost wiped out all the bears, all the antelope, all the deer, the buffalo. We knocked them from millions down to 500 individual animals. And there's a thing called the 7 principles or the North American model of wildlife management. There's 7 principles there. And we kind of execute those principles in conjunction with Mexico and Canada to really have like the best thriving wildlife of all of the developed countries in the world. And the way we do that is ensuring that it's in the public trust and that private landowners don't own the wildlife. There's no such thing as the king's deer here. But that being said, I 100% agree with you. Private property absolutely needs to be respected. And that comes down to a state thing, not a hound hunting thing, right? It might be hard in some states to execute that, but for instance, out west, kind of where the Meat Eater guys are from, I lived in Idaho for a long time, 70% of the state of Idaho is public land. So if you go to the national forest and you decide you want to go hound hunting for bears or mountain lions or whatever, sky's the limit, go wherever you want to go. But in a state like Vermont, where it's much more patchworked with private property, it becomes difficult. And I think rather than perhaps advocating against hound hunting, advocating for stronger private property laws might be a better route. And again, I don't have all the context to your farm, and I'm certainly not telling you what to do. I just enjoy your content. I enjoy your articulation of things. And as a hunter myself and somebody who's passionate about homesteading and passionate about hunting, that's how I feed my whole family. Like I don't farm, so I can't relate to you on that. But all of the meat that my family consumes is hunted. And so, in addition to having my background and education in wildlife management, it's very important to me and it's something that I'm passionate about. But that being said, private property is private property and they shouldn't be allowed to trespass on your land. And I think some states do a really good job of saying, here are the laws against trespassing, and other states don't. But I don't necessarily think that and it might make you a lot more friends over in Vermont if you kind of maybe direct your fight in the proper direction. Because right now, advocating against hound hunting as a whole, I don't know that that's the wisest thing. I don't hound hunt a lot. I have, but it's not my favorite thing in the world. But regardless of how I feel about it, or if I'm going to go hound hunting, I realize as somebody who, makes their career in wildlife management that some states, especially how thick they are, that's the most effective way to manage bear populations anymore. They don't have the predators that they did. They don't have, insane amounts of cougar populations. They don't have insane amounts of wolf populations, especially in your neck of the woods. There's almost like no competition for them, right? And so you get, a bear population that is exceeding what the landscape can support. So to best manage those populations, we use and employ techniques such as bear baiting, hound hunting, things that some people may not agree with, but when it comes to effectively managing the resource, that's kind of like, it's the best way. And it's the best way to ensure a healthy bear population, one that's not overpopulated, one where you can selectively take male bears. You can selectively take, those boars that are eating bear cubs to bring that sow back into heat for competition. And so depending on the goals of the wildlife management in that specific unit or in your specific region or in your specific state, we can use these things as tools to effectively, achieve our goals. And like, trust me, I know, like, houndsmen, they get like butch, they get crazy, they get a little prickly, and it like, even me coming from Idaho, like the whole wolf thing, they say, oh, they introduced the wrong wolf, they introduced some no, they didn't. Like, wolves from a northern latitude, just like any animal, just like a white-tailed deer, are going to be bigger than wolves from a southern latitude. And so the wolves that they reintroduced to Idaho in the 1990s were 6 to 8 pounds on average larger than the wolves that were historically there. But people just spin that out of control and, use it as an excuse of why they're not successful elk hunting, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, trying to tell people, like, the way you view wolves is wrong is a lot like telling a houndsman what he's doing is wrong. It's gonna, you fall on deaf ears, you're gonna instigate a fight. And ultimately, I think both of you kind of have a point. And your point to stay off my land should absolutely be upheld by the trespassing laws in Vermont. And if you are going to, run hounds, you should be able to run hounds on, national forest or large tracts of land of wildlife management areas. But if you're in a patchwork of 100-acre properties, 80-acre properties, where you have permission on this piece, it's probably not really an effective technique for, maybe bear baiting might be a more effective technique for like that specific situation. But, again, with absolute respect, I enjoy your content. I enjoy what you put out. And, I don't necessarily think you're wrong. I don't really think the meat eater guys are wrong. And I don't think Butch is entirely wrong, although I think he's just got a sense of entitlement for sure. But I think pointing your frustrations in the right direction might help everybody get along a little bit more, and it might help ease the situation. And I think, you're not really you'll have a lot more hunters on your side. And that's what's really, especially in the hunting world, that's what's going to drive change, is having hunters on your side. Because there's a lot of hunters, especially where you live, who own property, and they don't want trespassers. They don't want other houndsmen. They might run coons themselves. They might run bears themselves, and they don't want other people on their land. So, there was, like, Idaho used to be this way. It's since changed a couple years ago. North Dakota is this way, where if it's not posted land, you can go there. If it's not posted, if it's not fenced, and if it's not developed for agricultural use, it's wide open. And so when that changed in Idaho, you got a lot of people who hunted and grew up, well, I've been hunting this land forever, I'm entitled to it. Well, no, you're not. It's private land, and you need to get permission, just like anybody else. And if the landowner doesn't want to give you permission, tough. It's for you to deal with. And, find another place to go. But for you to just feel like, well, I've been here forever, it's my right. Well, you don't pay the taxes on it. You don't pay the insurance on it. You're not the one that's going to get sued if you fall and break your leg. So, like, I get it, man. I'm on your side on that. But you know, so you know, hound hunting, when done correctly and done respectfully of private property owners, is a very effective way to manage wildlife. And to, some people view it as not very sporting, but it is, because you get to watch dogs work. You get to watch them do something that's just absolutely incredible, what they were been for hundreds of years bred to do. And you might not kill. It's not like a wanton destruction of wildlife. Like, you might roll up on a bear and realize, oh, it's a little small, or it's a sow, or it's a sow with cubs, and it's, you're not just seeing a bear at 150 yards going, oh, bear, shoot it. You're able to get close to these animals and see them in a way like you did with Butch. Like, that was probably an experience that you would have never got, to see a bear that close and that surreal. And so, as people who enjoy wildlife, there's people who run hounds that just do it to tree the bears, get pictures, and go. So to close, I think it's a good thing as a whole.